Sandra, welcome to another episode of Asexualise, my asexual life. This is a place to be for education, entertainment and information about asexuality, asexual life, all things asexual. And so today we have a movie review, which is a no sex movie review. If you didn't already know, I'm asexual in sexual orientation. That means I lack sexual attraction. And for me personally, I'm a sex repulsed asexual. I'm fine for other people who have sex when it is consensual, but I'm not into that. So I look for movies that have got no sex in them. And I went on a self date today. So I saw 2 movies today and had a meal in Nando's. And one of the movies I saw was Thor, Love and Thunder. So if you don't want any spoilers, please do not watch this video because I'm going to tell you the plot and quite a bit of the story. I'm not going to reveal absolutely everything, but yeah, let's get stuck in. So Thor, Love and Thunder is the next one in the Thor episodes, if you like, Thor series of Marvel. And in the beginning, this guy called Gore is basically out in the desert with this, it looks like the desert, with his daughter, and he wants his daughter to live, and he prays to the gods for the daughter to live, and the daughter dies. He buries his daughter, and then he basically goes to the gods explaining that his daughter died, and at the gods' help basically, instead of helping him, instead one of the gods decided to try and strangle him. And what happened is this particular god had killed this monster type of thing, and there was a sword left on this monster, and this sword chose Gore to seek revenge on the gods for itself, and also for, you know, the fact that his daughter died and the gods didn't really care. And so anyway, Gore then takes on this sword, kills that god, flees from there, and then goes on to find all the gods in order to kill them. And he's going for Thor's actual, you know, hometown in the end. Hometown, right? City, I think it's a town. And so anyway, Thor is with Guardians of the Galaxy in the beginning, and there's quite a lot of light-hearted banter and joking and things like that. And he, in the beginning, is trying to prove how mighty he is. And to cut a long story short, he basically, when he's in conversation with Guardians of the Galaxy, he realizes that he's very, very empty inside because he's lost so many people he loves that he feels like he needs to keep everyone at arm's length, because if he does love someone again, it's going to really, really hurt him. But one of the Guardians says to him, you know, this Guardian lost someone who he loved, but he'd rather love and feel shitty about it and lose that person than never have loved that person at all, because they're a good person. And so he said this to Thor, and Thor was thinking of Jane, you know, this first kind of love, the human that he loved, who he saw in the earlier movies. And so, you know, she's always been the love of his life, really. And basically they drew his attention to the fact that, you know, he's empty inside because he really, you know, needs to be loved. And one of the Guardians said, you know, we all need to be loved. And a lot of the time we do, even people that are not so good, you know, some people that are not so good, some people, they really do lack love. They probably lack self-love as well as loving others, you know, and being able to receive love, you know. And so, yeah, so there's this kind of like, it's a certificate 12A. And, you know, so that kind of sets the tone for the movie. And what happens, Jane, you see Jane, his old love, comes back into the movie. She is seen throughout this movie, and she has stage 4 cancer. And so she's not got very much longer to live. I was really upset when I found out this storyline. I didn't realise because I hadn't watched reviews. I didn't realise, you know, that this was going to happen. Her friend was there, and what happens is when she goes home, because her friends like tell her to stay in hospital, keep on with your chemo, but she wants to go home and carry on her scientific work. And when she is at home, there's a book, and the book starts like moving, and she's like, oh, it's calling to me. So she opens a page, and then she goes to Thor's like hometown, and Thor's hometown has kind of been changed into a tourist attraction that reenacts the story of Thor and his brother and sister. And so, you know, it's come kind of a tourist attraction, a little bit gimmicky. They've got boats and stuff, they've got flying ships and all sorts. And, you know, it's quite different in one sense, but, you know, it's very much like Jurassic Park, you know, like the Jurassic World, you know, the kingdom and then the falling kingdom. It's a bit, you know, like, because there's like there's like the theme park, isn't there, in Jurassic World movies, the first one. So kind of reminded me of that type of thing, really. But I didn't expect it in the Thor movie. I actually find some of the Guardians of the Galaxy a bit too corny, that type of thing, a bit too lighthearted, a bit too unserious. I know that a lot of people who love Guardians of the Galaxy, they really like them for the unseriousness, lightheartedness, comedy, and the music. But I personally didn't think that added to Thor and his mission. I thought it was kind of like child's play more, not taking him seriously. I personally do like humor, but not to the extent where I think it takes the seriousness out of Thor's job, and it just kind of makes it a bit Mickey taking in some respects, you know. And I don't think this Thor movie is as solid as the other ones in the beginning, because to me the Guardians of the Galaxy are kind of like really kind of like playful teenagers, if you like, and Thor's meant to be really responsible. And I think it's good to have some contrast, but I just think it just makes Thor a joke in the beginning, and I don't like that. So that was something that, if I'm being critical of, would, you know, that's the one thing I would say that wasn't so good. I think the other movies were better in the fact they didn't have this Guardians of the Galaxy coming in and trying to kind of like make fun of and make jokes and stuff. But it was good from the point of view that one of the Guardians made Thor realize that he's actually missing something. He's empty inside because of love and all the fighting and pushing people away and keeping people at arm's length. You know, that really doesn't serve him long time, you know, in the long term. And Thor actually admits that, you know, he's kind of lost his identity a bit, he's lost his way a bit. And so I kind of understand that when he's being a bit jokey with the Guardians of the Galaxy, he's meant to have lost his way, and he's meant to be a bit out of character anyway, because he's like, because he, you know, basically all stems back to Jane. And so what happens is Jane, like I said, finds this book, and when she goes to the tourist attraction in Thor's hometown, then there's Thor's hammer as like bit like a museum piece, and it's in a case. And all of a sudden, when Jane sees it, the hammer puts itself together from all these broken pieces, and the next thing you know, Jane is actually a Thor. She becomes another Thor, the female Thor, even though she's human, because the hammer chose her. And so when she has the hammer, she then has these powers and changes into a Thor character. So she wears the same sort of armor, but a female version. She has a face mask, but a kind of like obviously more fitting for a female. She has Thor's original hammer. He's got a new one, so there's quite a lot of jokes about that, and a lot of kind of like reminiscing from Thor about his old hammer and saying sorry to his new hammer because he still likes his old hammer and stuff like that. So I really loved Jane being another Thor. I wish that could have lasted forever. I wish they could have carried that on, because I think that would have been really good. But what happens is the power of the hammer is draining her energy, which is the last bit of energy she's got before she's due to die. And so anyway, Gore, this guy who lost his daughter in the beginning of the movie, who was out in the desert, who decided to seek revenge on the gods because they didn't save his daughter, has kidnapped the children from Thor's city, hometown, call it a hometown. And so what they did is Thor was able to summon the shadows and weird like death creatures, and it invaded Thor's hometown, and then the children got stolen and taken up into what looked like space. I never understand how they can breathe in space, because there's no like breathing equipment. It seems a lot of the modern day films these days, they just completely forget the fact that it's kids going up into space, and they would have face masks on usually for oxygen, but all that seems to have gone out the window now, you know what I mean? So anyway, they have to rescue the kids. Thor has to rescue the kids with the female Thor, which is Jane, and also they've brought back one of the other, well, two of the other characters. They've brought back the female character from before, the main female from one of the other movies, and they've brought back the character who's like the rock guy. So it's very interesting. So there's mostly four of them throughout the majority of the movie, and Jane, who's due to die, her one last wish is basically to do continue doing the Thor mission and get these children back. Because you know, and Thor and her do kiss in the movie, and he does say he loves her, and that was so beautiful because I wanted them to kiss, you know, because basically I hate it when there's movies and you just really want them to kiss and they don't. But it's very sad, bittersweet, because obviously Jane's due to die of cancer. And so it's very upsetting. So there is a number of characters that die in this. And yeah, it's quite upsetting. There's at least 3 characters. Well, there's more than 3 characters, actually, that die. There's quite a few characters. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at least, and there's all like other characters that you don't really know who they are so much. But yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah, I don't want to give it away. I mean, some of the characters that die, you know, out of the 5, there's one that you don't really know that well, but 4 of them you kind of get to know, and so I don't want to give it away, but there's quite a few people that die right in the Thor movie, and it is really sad in some ways, but it's got a good ending in one sense, but not in the other, because of obviously all the deaths. However, I don't want to give it all away, you see. However, there is 2 bits after the film finishes that you need to watch. When people don't watch the credits, I think it's not a good thing, because you could be spreading misinformation, especially with this movie. There are 2 bits after the movie. One is partway through the credits. It's like a third of the way through the credits. And the second bit is after all the credits have finished. There's 2 bits. Now, one of these bits, one character you think has died, he's I don't want to say it, they're not actually dead. As far as you know, they've died, but they're not actually dead. So if you don't watch that part of the movie, which is in the credits, you'll be spreading misinformation about everyone that dies in the movie. And the very, very end of the credits, after all the credits, including, this was like copyrighted in 2022, so when everyone would think it's all over, screen goes black, and then it comes up with another bit. And so one of the person's deaths has a slight twist in it. So you got one person who you think's dead, who's not actually dead, or they've come back to life, and then you've got another person whose death has a slight twist to it. And that's all I'm going to say, because I don't want to give the whole movie away. But I did like the movie. I didn't think it was the best in terms of like the fact they put too much comedy in there. But I did like the movie. I did enjoy it. I really think you should watch it. It has got classic Thor kind of action in there. It's got a lot of action, a lot of smashing things up with his hammer, a lot of like like thunder and lightning scenes. It's interesting because in this particular movie they've made some of the gods bad, so that's very interesting. You're like, are they inherently bad, or all of them, or what? Obviously Thor isn't. Thor's got a kind pure heart, and in the end, towards the end, you find out that Jane, he tells has always been the love of his life, he's never stopped loving her, she was the one who influenced him to do good in the world, to help people. And so that's a really good thing. And if you love Guardians of the Galaxy and you're glad they make an appearance, then you'll be really happy with this movie. But I do think the other Thor movies, as some critics have said about the movie, there's a lot more substance to the other ones in some ways. And I think it's because the Guardians of the Galaxy weren't there to just like kind of make it too funny and jokey, if you know what I mean. But there's a lot of serious stuff in this film as well, so I guess maybe they wanted to break up. But all the funny stuff mostly is in the beginning, then it gets really heavy and serious. So yeah, it's kind of interesting, but I did like it. I'm really glad I saw it. I would still highly recommend going to see the movie. I don't think it's exactly the same as some of the other Thor movies. I think you might be a little disappointed with some of it and then think other bits are really, really good. And so I like the fact as well, there's two other really good things in this movie, is it's LGBT plus friendly. So they've got one of the female characters they brought back, she's actually had a girlfriend, they explained previously, who died, and so she's a lesbian. And also they have a character in it. Oh, they have another character actually, which I didn't tell you about, who is partly dead. I hope you can work out who it is when you see it. So there's quite a lot of twists in this thing. It's partly dead, but not all of it's dead. And at the very end, it comes back to having a full life. I can't say what that is. And in the end, it ends up getting a male version of it. So it's gay. But that's not till really, really at the very end of the film, nearly. It's very interesting. So I don't know if you'll pick up on that or not because of the other action. But yeah, so there's like a gay character in this, and there's also a lesbian character in this. I thought, why can't they get an asexual character? It'd be so good if they could even it out with an asexual character. But I was very happy that they are doing this. It's important because there are a lot of people that get attracted to the same gender. I'm not attracted to the same gender, but they are, and a lot of people, and it's okay to do that. It's okay to love the same gender. I really think it's good to get away from stereotypes and and actually be more realistic of how the world really is. There's some people that are prejudiced and rude about minority sexual orientations, but there's actually a lot more than people think and realize, and that's because they live in fear that if they come out they can't be who they are and people will ridicule them. And I think there's a lot more homosexual people in the world than people know. Even in terms of asexuality, I find a lot of homo-romantics, a lot of people, especially guys, come into guys. A lot of guys are into other guys, especially when I'm on like I said, on asexual dating sites. When I'm on normal dating sites and apps, then there's a lot of heterosexuals on there. But I actually came across someone who's LGBT plus friendly the other day on a dating app, which is a new app I've downloaded, which I'll talk about another time. But yes, new to me. So yeah, anyway, really happy that LGBT plus friendly, and well, I guess they're LGBT friendly because they don't have an asexual or an intersex person on there that I know, and they haven't, but Q can stand for queer, and some people who are gay or lesbian identify as queer as well. I think it's up to the individual whether they identify that or not. But yeah, so I would highly recommend it. The music's very good if you like kind of rock metal music. The action, there is a lot of action. Oh, there's one scene I didn't tell you about, and that's when they actually have children battling the demon monster creatures, and Thor gives them powers for a while. And I didn't know how parents would react to that, whether they think it's good that children are given swords and smashing through creatures and monsters and killing them. I didn't know if that was a good thing to put in a movie. It's a certificate 12A, and there is a few swear words in this. So, I didn't see any sex whatsoever. No. Oh, there was a scene where Thor is actually naked, but you don't see his front part, only the back part of him, his bum. So yeah, so there is some nudity in this. And there's some sexual innuendo, but not much. It's more like, oh, they're doing something else in there. And you don't see anything at all because they're kissing, not doing anything else. So that was very interesting. Yeah, and so I really I did like the love story, but it was a very tragic love story going on, but I loved the character of Jane, played by Natalie Portman, and I love the fact they'd made her into a Thor. She was absolutely fabulous as Thor. Her hair was different. She looked really good in the costume. She really was just as good as Thor himself, really, if not better in some ways, because her heart is really pure. A bit more than Thor, really. And I think that's what came across in the movie as to why he loved her so much, because she truly changed his life. She made him realize that he can do good in the world with his powers and really help people. And her kindness spread to him and made him a better man, made him a better person, made him a better Thor. Well, he's not meant to be a person, as he's a god. Made him a better god and made him a better version of himself, made him a better Thor, and so it was really, really interesting movie. I did like watching it. I didn't get bored. I just didn't really like so much of the humor at the beginning. But yeah, I wish they'd have kept Jane. What? Yeah, I wish they'd have kept her for lots more series. I wonder if they will bring her back, but seems unlikely they will bring her back. I'm not going to say anything else, but anything can happen in the Marvel universe. And like I said, do not forget to watch the credits, because one person is not actually dead. Another person who's dead has a twist. Yeah, so if you don't watch the credits, you'll be spreading misinformation and you won't understand the full story. So it's very important. Watch the credits and after the credits because the second bit is very much after all the credits has gone. So yes, go and watch it. Really, really would recommend Love and Thunder, Thor. Great movie overall. And yeah, I really liked it a lot. Really, they kick some butts. They really do. And that's really good. Anyway, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that bell icon so you get notified of every time I go live right now, post a new video. Lots of love, and I'll see you soon. Thank you. Bye.